War Eagle War Rapport family, I'm your host, C Dub. Today we discuss Auburn at SEC Media Days, who's going and what we can expect there. Also, Auburn actually makes the latest list of blue chip recruits in the blue chip ratio list, according to 247. Discuss all that and more in today's latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by
Athletic Architect.
It's your boy, I Jones. Be Will, C-Dog, Mike G. Get ready, sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. I'm joined by Ike Jones and B. Will. Mike G won't be with us today, but we want to welcome you to the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by show sponsor, Athletic Architects. If you are a student athlete, parent of a student athlete, or you're just interested in starting an LLC, please be sure to visit buildthehouse.com so you can begin planning your financial future today. Also, we want to shout out those of you who are joining us, whether it's live or on replay, guys. We are so grateful you're hanging out with us on this lovely day. If you're on social media, we need you to do a favor. Do us a favor. Share this video. Use the hashtag. Help people to find our content. Join in on the discussion. Help us grow our community. And while you're out there, don't just be out there lurking. All right. You may not be commenting, but you can at least hit the like button. And if you're new to our channel, subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell for when we go live. You will be notified. Now, I mentioned something about community. That means becoming a patron. Ike is here to tell you why you need to do that.
Yeah, absolutely need to come on board with the War Rapport community. Listen, it's not a lot of money per month, but it definitely is worth it. As we get into the season, we will have more and more ways that membership will become valuable for you. Right now, we are doing things like advanced drops on content. Namely, if you have already been around, you'll see that Evan McGuire, the kicker for Auburn, is live right now for our members that are there. And coming up soon, I will have some of that coveted quarterback footage that you all have been wanting. Some stuff on Zach Calzada dropping sometime tomorrow whenever I finalize that. But until then, tomorrow we do have another video that's going to be going live, and that is our sit down with wide receiver Shedrick Jackson. That's right. Shed Jackson came through to talk to us a little bit about the wide receiver room. Good conversation with Shed Jackson. You guys make sure you check that out. We'll have a little clip from that coming up a little bit later. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments if you want to get this flag. I'm gonna give away another one of these flags, man. If you want one of these, hashtag get your weight up in the comments. We'll give that away somewhere around the 1 hour mark. You gotta be present to win. Make sure you get your hashtags in there, and we will get that giveaway posted for you all here soon.
Awesome. How you fellas doing this lovely Sunday?
Not too bad. Not too
Well,
bad.
I'm doing all right. I don't know how the greater Auburn fan base is doing, but I'm doing fine.
No, we're great.
We're
Greater
great.
Auburn fan base is great, except for those people who just want to be miserable. Everybody else is good.
And there are some of those. So it's okay. It's all right. You could be miserable. I choose not to be. Now, let's talk about this upcoming week. There's a lot coming up, guys. Guys, the season's almost here. Like, we're already talking about SEC Media Days. Like, it's wild how this offseason has flown by, the longest offseason of any sport. And we're almost through the end of it. SEC Media Days begins this week in Atlanta. Actually, Mike G is en route to Atlanta because yours truly will be there, in effect, covering the activities, bringing you great content. I see some people asking, where's Mike G? En route. Of course, he stays the furthest away from this area, so he has to travel. So just want to talk a little bit as we begin to kind of preview, because there's some major storylines that will be tackled in Atlanta when it comes to SEC Media Days based on what occurred in the offseason, how the last season ended. But let's talk about who, first of all, will be representing Auburn at SEC Media Days. It was announced recently that Derek Hall, John Samuel Schenker, as well as Tank Bigsby will be joining Bryan Harsin in Atlanta. They'll be the ones who will be doing interviews. And it's a great honor to definitely be selected to represent your team. I want to start with you, Bryan. What was your expectation, or what were your thoughts on who was selected? Because there's some people who went last year who aren't here, who aren't representing Auburn. Name stands out as Papo, of course. But what are your thoughts on who was selected? Let us know.
I think this makes total sense. Tank is by far the biggest name we've got. He's the most talented player we've got. He is the most accomplished player we've got. He's got the highest draft profile of anybody on our team. Makes sense to take him. He stuck around with Auburn when he had an opportunity and a reason to leave. He had both the opportunity to leave and reasons to leave. He was in an offense last year that didn't give him the ball as much as he should. He was in an offense last year where the shortcomings of both the offensive line and the quarterback left some production to be desired for him on the field. And he had plenty of reasons to go, listen, man, y'all aren't, I'm better than this. So I'm going to go somewhere that's going to feature me. Or we feature him, but do a better job of it and help me be more productive. He decided to stay here. So many players, not only the ones we've talked to, but obviously Tank and some other recruits who have chosen Auburn here recently, they are buying what Harsin is selling. They are. Tank has been on the ship behind the scenes, and even though he hasn't gotten the shine he should get, he decided to stay. I think that's more indicative of where we are going and what is going on behind the scenes than anything. When the player who has more to gain by leaving, at least in the short term, for the year he's got, decides to stay, it means something is going on. Something positive is going on behind the scenes. Otherwise, why would Tank Bigsby use his last college season around a program that was just dead weight if he thought it was dead weight? He's been here. He's talked to players at other programs. He's from the state of Georgia. If you believe reports that he was jumping ship to Georgia in the offseason, that means somebody was in contact with him. Players, assistant coaches, maybe. Who knows? All I know is that if he wanted to go to a program that had just won a national championship and lost at least one of their running backs, he could have done it. He could have left and gotten more shine because Georgia's going to get more attention being a returning national champion. He decided to stay here. Now, that type of buy-in, again, we're hearing that word a lot. We've heard it from players. We've heard it from people in the program. We have, I saw an article where somebody wrote like, hey, the buy-in is really high at Auburn. That is going to account for something. So you make him the face of your program there at SEC Media Days. Plus, it's going to be great training for him, Derek Hall, and who's the third person? There was Schenker. It's going to be great preparation for all three of these guys because they're all going to be at the combine and answering questions here shortly. In about, when is the combine? Is it February, March? Whenever it is.
I think February, I think.
Yeah. They're going to be doing this real soon. So this is great preparation for them. It's their opportunity to get in front of cameras, get in front of media. And they do it a little bit during the season after a game, if you're a player that had a big impact on the game, but they're going to all have to do this because Schenker is accomplished. He's consistent. Derek Hall had a really good year. We expect him to have another one. We're talking preseason. I think he was second team, if I'm not mistaken, Derek Hall was. But yeah, this is the type of attention that all of these guys are going to continue to get going forward. I'm glad they're getting that practice. It's not just about who we expect to be good. These are guys who have already been productive. These are guys who have already been here and bought in, and they've been productive, and we expect them to continue to be productive. So they're going to go and represent our team. And I think these are three good choices.
You were out last live we had, but we had a B Will's forehead said the disappointment on my face last show when B Will wasn't there after I changed my name was extreme.
Man, I heard that when I was working on the audio for the pod, and I was like, you know what? I don't even want to know. I'm glad I wasn't on, but I'm here now, and I
here now.
The B Will's forehead handle right there. You know what? I don't even have a forehead no more. Top of my head and forehead have merged to make a 19 head. And that's just how it goes right there. You know what I'm saying? Generational hair loss happens. I have accepted my fate. So thank you for the acknowledgement.
That's very mature of you, B. I'm proud of you. Ike, talk to me real quick, man. What do you think the messaging is going to be? What do you anticipate these guys? I mean, obviously, if you're reading articles, if you're listening to people talking about Auburn in terms of projecting their expectations for the upcoming season, very few people are singing Auburn's praises. So the likelihood of these guys having a chip on their shoulder, being highly motivated, what do you anticipate coming from these three gentlemen?
I mean, I think from a player standpoint, they are just going to be unified in their support of the direction that the program is going. I'm actually hoping that they don't project too much of a, quiet confidence. I just want them to say, hey, listen, I get it. We're going to go out here and we're going to work, and we'll let the talk on the field be the deciding factor. These are all mature people that we're talking about here. Like, these guys have been in the program for a while. To B's point, had an opportunity to leave if they wanted to, whether that be the NFL draft or transferring to another program, and all decided to stay. So I think it speaks a lot to the commitment that they have to this coaching staff and the direction of the program, and their thought that we could do something this year with this group. So I'm looking forward to hearing just, again, the reserved nature of, okay, I hear all of that, but yeah, we're here to work. What's the next question?
So let's talk about Bryan Harsin, because I think one of the bigger storylines will actually surround him. Of course, we know Jimothy and Saban will be one of the storylines, and that's one of the things people were looking to after that whole situation blew up in the offseason about NIL and some comments that Saban made and Jimothy's response. But one of the storylines that's going to stem from this offseason will be the job security of Bryan Harsin. I mean, we did several lives. We've talked about this extensively, but it was a lot of drama, unnecessary drama surrounding Bryan Harsin. And I think as a result of such, you can expect there will be questions about that going into media days.
Right.
And so what do we expect to see? I think Harsin has been very even keeled throughout this process, throughout this year, throughout his time here at Auburn. So I expect more of the same. But B. Will, what are your thoughts about how Harsin handles those questions this week?
He's had to answer those questions now pretty much since that whole little drama ended. And I think he's going to be a much more comfortable and at ease coach than he was.
Has he had to answer those questions, though?
Well, let me say this. He may not have had to answer them outwardly, but I think he's probably had to answer those questions when parents ask them. And
yeah, but this is to me is the most interesting part of the media days thing, because this will be the first real opportunity that media outside of the Auburn area will have an opportunity to just pepper him with questions about what happened back then.
Outside of ESPN, of course.
Yeah. So my question or my thought process is, who is going to, if anybody is going to bring it up, and where is the conversation going to go once it's brought up? I 100% think that Bryan Harsin is going to be dismissive of it and be like, I'm not here to talk about any of that stuff. I'm here to talk about the upcoming season. But like, that's what I think will be his answer. But I do think that it comes up from somewhere, and I think it will be interesting. Like, that's going to be, if you go to message boards that are outside of the Auburn community and conversations come up about SEC stuff in general, some fan is going to throw that out there as a lob to an Auburn fan who makes any commentary. Well, your coach was this and this and that. You guys need to handle the dumpster fire that's happening down there in Auburn, because they don't realize we've moved on beyond. We're past that for the most part. Again,
Right.
there are some people who are still stuck there. But most of those people didn't like Bryan Harsin to begin with. So there's not much he could do to get them on his side other than winning a national title, or at least an SEC championship. But I do think it's going to be interesting when that conversation begins, because it inevitably will begin at some point in time, whether it's asked to a player or asked to Bryan Harsin himself, how quickly they pivot from that. Because I do wonder, they have to have, right? At some point in time, you sit down with the coach and those three players, and you're like, when this comes up, this is what our unified response is going to be, because it's going to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
B?
I think he's going to answer it. What I expect from Harsin is he's going to look much more at ease. He's learned some lessons from this whole debacle. And one of those is how he presents outwardly, his energy, his demeanor. Those are important things, especially important down here in the South. Those matter. Those absolutely matter. You had I'm thinking about one of the most legendary SEC coaches, and it wasn't because he won anywhere at the clip that, say, a Nick Saban's winning now, but Steve Spurrier. He was a microphone legend. He was at ease. He was witty. He was always willing to tell you what he thought. He wasn't going to hold back. And some of that did some work for Steve Spurrier. He won one championship, and he was good the rest of his years. Came back to South Carolina, won the East once. When we played him in 2010, I think it was, he won the East.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do too much outside of that, but Spurrier knew how to be himself, and he was a Southern guy. And that did a lot of work for Spurrier. People kind of accepted him as who he was. Bryan Harsin, I think, has had he has a different personality, and maybe some of what we're seeing now is him allowing himself to show parts of his personality that maybe he thought he had to keep tucked away as a leader, as a figurehead of a program, as somebody who is, I'm going to represent these things, and it's serious and it's important. But now you have to be just as easygoing when you sit down and talk to these parents, as you do have to be serious when you're coaching their kids. And I think he's learning some of that duality now. And I expect him to be less repellent of the media, because he seemed a little bit perturbed when he had to answer questions in the media before. But I mean, a lot of that was coming after hard losses. So, who's going to be happy about that? Yeah. But I expect him to show some balance that he didn't show last year, partially because that was a criticism of him from players that left, and that it may be costing him some recruits, or his demeanor may be costing him some players that should have stayed but wanted to leave. But also because I think he realizes how important it is for people to instill confidence in him. He has to seem like he is not only present and there as a person, but also as a head coach. And I think that's part of the confidence that has started to build in him, because all of the players have talked about it. They believe in Bryan Harsin. They talked about his plan. They talk about him being a very good football mind, but he just seems a lot more approachable now. And I'm guessing that does some work for him in these interviews. When that specific question comes up of his job security and what happened over the offseason, I don't know. But I'll say this. He's had about, 6 months to get that answer together. He's got to be ready for it. I can't imagine he hasn't prepped for the type of questions he's going to be getting here with the biggest audience he's had since all this went down. So I expect him to be ready for it. Do I expect him to be loquacious and forthcoming? It really hurt me when I was at vacation. No, he's not going to dwell on it, because that's not what's important right now. He's got to win games. Yeah, he's got to win 7 and be really competitive in the ones he loses, or he's got to win 8 to lock down 2023 season. And I think that's his focus, and that's it.
Agreed. And one statement here by, I don't want to butcher your name, I'm just going to call you Rob for short. One quality of his I actually like is how he doesn't give drama any more steam. That mess did force him to adjust how he comes across, but I believe he is still true, or being true to himself. I agree with this. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah. I think that ultimately, regardless of what happened or how people feel about what happened, he's not going to give it a lot of oxygen. He's just going to be like, look, hey, listen, we're here to talk about the 2022 season and our outlook on that, and just move on from any questions that are facing backwards, other than what happened on the football field. Like, if we're going to talk about 2021 or anything prior to now, I want to talk about what we did on the field. And again, there's a lot of stuff that people can ask questions about. New coordinators and staff that are here. You know, there's a ton of things that are football related that are questions that people can ask of Bryan Harsin and those players that he brings with him that would be fodder for someone to create some sort of drama depending upon how the answer is. So I do think it's going to be super interesting to see what direction questions go when asked of him. You know, I've been thinking really hard about what questions I'm going to ask if I get an opportunity to ask anybody questions, because again, you know, as C said earlier, myself and Mike G will be at SEC Media Days. You know, I've been at that. Yeah, yeah. But no, I do think it's going to be interesting to see what direction questions go, and then once the floodgate opens, like once someone asks the question, will people be persistent in trying to pile on, right? Like, oh, well, hey, since he asked, let me follow up with that. Let me follow, you know what I'm saying? If they're not satisfied with his answer to whatever it is. So.
Right. One more thing I want to point out about who's representing Auburn is what's noticeable from this is there's no quarterback listed. Rightfully so. Mike G pointed this out on Blackerby's show last week for War Rapport Wednesday. Obviously, you're in a quarterback competition. You sending a quarterback is almost a declaration of who you expect to be your guy.
For sure.
Right.
We sent Jeremy Johnson in 2015, I remember.
Yeah.
Or 2015 or 16, either way.
I think it was 15. Maybe 15.
Because we expected him to be a contributor. But it kind of gone to the most senior people in the past. Senior combination with who we expected to be really, really good for us. But that didn't necessarily become a factor. So
right. Well, I guess my question is in terms of questions that are asked. What do you think the messaging coming from Harsin is about this quarterback competition? Whatever the angle of the question is, what do you think the messaging around? Because obviously you brought leaders to SEC Media Days, but the expectation moving forward as your season goes along is that your QB is one of those guys. That is yet to be determined. So what is the messaging going into SEC Media Days about this important position?
Shoot, man, I think that it's still got to be that there's an open competition and they're excited about whoever's going to be the starter. You know, I think you'll hear the language of we have three guys. Hopefully he says three and not two. But we have three guys that we're confident can be starters for us next year. And it's about who steps up in fall camp. We'll make that determination as we get closer. So I do anticipate that there will be conversation around it, but it will center around the fact that it's an open competition and anyone still has the opportunity to seize that opportunity to be the leader.
And I don't think that's coach speak. B. Like, I think that's the truth, because I think we have lamented throughout this offseason our excitement, even though depending on what article you read, that not much is to be made of our QB room. But I'm excited about what this staff has done to upgrade the talent in that room.
Yeah.
That you actually can legitimately go to a backup QB if you find God forbid, you don't have to due to injury or whatever happens. But you can actually go to a backup and still run your offense as expected because of the guys in that room. So based on it being an open competition, like your excitement, man, about knowing that that's a real thing and that's not coach speak.
I mean, first of all, I'm glad that we have more competitive backup quarterbacks. What we went through with the last 4 years under Gus was kind of embarrassing. It was really embarrassing. 2016, as I've heard many people say, if you don't have a starter, how's the saying go?
If you have two starters, you don't have a starter.
Exactly. Yeah. If you got two starters, you don't have a starter. We started 2016 with three guys taking snaps on the center. Bad. All bad. Sean White was chippy and he was a competitive guy. He just didn't have the physical tools to be great. He had a good attitude for the position, but the arm was too weak. He couldn't stay healthy. So we didn't really have number two because at that time, Jeremy Johnson.
Let me just say this about Sean White while you're on this. Why did he always have to put his whole body into throw?
Man,
like he would literally feel like he It's like he would
Get that ball.
fling his entire body to follow through on stuff when he was trying to. I was like, "Yo, is he really just? He don't have no arm strength." Anyway, I'm
Because
sorry.
you know what? All of that body, and it still was like the slowest pace. It was like me throwing 10-yard routes. I was
Your
like,
brother
man.
can't put his all into his throws. Like, what's wrong?
But good Lord, man. I mean,
Man.
really, he put his all, like everything. I'm gonna go find clips of Sean White throwing down the field, and I'm gonna show you guys what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Anyway,
Gotta put some into it somehow, man. Like you gotta throw your all into it, man. Literally.
my bad. I interrupted. B. Go ahead.
No, you good. You good. So we know 2017 Stidham was the guy, and backup was, I think that was Willis's first year. Was it Willis's first year?
Oh, that's a good question.
It was either 2017 or 18. No, I think it was 18 was his freshman year, if I'm not mistaken. We know Sean White got kicked off the team right when Stidham got there. So I don't know if we had a qualified backup at that point. And even if Willis was there in 2017, he wasn't going to jump out there as a true freshman. So I don't think we had a prepared second quarterback who could have led us to some significant wins in 2017. 2018, same thing. Now, that was Willis's first year, but he didn't really get. Now, this was, and we kind of talked about this before the show. For all his positives and negatives, one thing
Lawrence is saying Willis played 2017, so that was his.
Okay,
first
so
year.
that was his first year. Okay. So again, he wasn't going to get any significant snaps, not under Gus. That wasn't something that Gus wanted to do with guys, true freshmen. Matter of fact, he fought like hell to keep Sean White from getting on the field in 2015, but things were going so bad into Jeremy Johnson. He took that off that bye week before Kentucky to go ahead and make the switch because he kind of had to. 2018, Willis could have done more, but reports saying, Willis himself saying, I wasn't mature enough. I wasn't prepared. I remember this point, Alabama State, actually, we talked about it. He was in there just to get some garbage snaps, and he got a little anxious, tried to do a little too much, ended up in a safety, and Gus wasn't happy about that. And that's part of the maturity. We didn't have anybody who was mentally and physically prepared to do anything serious for us in 2018 either. 2019, so Willis had left because Bo got the job. And who was the backup in 2019?
It was
your boy.
Yeah.
You know.
What's his face?
No.
Oh, that's right.
He
left.
Lloyd came in 20.
No, he's talking about the pitcher.
The other guy. Yeah, he was a pitcher. Sandberg.
Oh,
Cord Sandberg, and then Joy
Gatewood
and Cord
Sandberg was there. Gatewood was there.
And we could all say
Gatewood was the number 2. Gatewood was actually the number 2.
That
was he though?
We didn't really have a viable backup quarterback, did we?
Okay, there, air quoted. Yeah.
Okay.
We did not have a viable backup quarterback.
We knew he wasn't.
They had no desire to let that man go in there and ever throw a pass. It was like,
why he left.
No.
He threw like 2 passes. He threw like 2 passes. I remember the Arkansas game. We were mopping him up, and he got some garbage time, and he threw a pass or 2. But yeah, we have not had a viable backup quarterback. If you go all the way back to 2013, where Johnson was the backup quarterback, we thought he was, but as a starter with extended time, maybe he wouldn't have been that guy. So have we had a viable backup quarterback before this year?
I don't remember the last time we had, we thought we had one in Jeremy Johnson. That's the last time anybody felt semi-confident that if the starter goes down, our backup was going to be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we've had a viable, because the Stidham years, who was behind him?
Willis and Gatewood. No, Willis and Gatewood in 2018.
When did Cord, was he already there, or was he there that 1 year?
He got here 2019.
Okay,
he was here for 2 years. Cord Sandberg was here for 2, I think. But yeah, again, the QB room has looked. It's been a joke. The QB room has been a joke. But I mean, me and B were just talking about this a little bit when we were discussing. You were on. We were talking about this right before the show. See, we're just all talking about. It hasn't been much different for the running back room. Right, like we've had one ethereal person at the running back position. Cam Petway was a revelation. Like nobody knew Cam Petway was going to be that good because they had him, as an H-back blocking back. Like they didn't. The
only reason he became that there you go.
Yep. Yeah,
you go.
There was no backup plan if the starting running back went down. Like that was evidenced in the 2017 situation when. Carry-on went down, and we had Cam Martin in that backfield, and they were just like, what do we do with this guy? No, there is no ability in the previous regime to be able to pivot if the first guy went down.
Right.
At two of the most crucial positions for your offense. That offense runs off of being able to have a capable quarterback and a bell cow running back.
Now, Lawrence is bringing this up because this is correct. We lost a lot of guys, I think, that year. So Javon got dismissed because of some allegations that were later retracted, but he had already been dismissed. Peyton Barber left for the league a year earlier than most people expected him to. And Rock Thomas, who,
okay, so all right, so
but
even if Rock Thomas was on the team, Javon was the one that really hurt. Like, let's be clear, Javon was the one that hurt because he was the actual guy.
Oh, you know what? That would have been Javon Robinson and Kerryon Johnson. Oh my goodness,
we would have had a good running back room then. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, for sure.
What's crazy is, as good a back as Kerryon Johnson was early in his career, he was like the speed sweep guy.
He was.
And Kerryon wasn't even like fast like that.
He was like in some sorts, he became a bit of a revelation. The way he was running in 2017 compared to how he was when he first got to Auburn, for sure.
What's the kid's name that left in 2020? He went to Michigan State.
Harold Joyner.
Yeah.
Another. I just so many disappointing running backs that have come through. I don't know, man. Like, again,
and
it's literally how your offense runs, though. Like, your offense is predicated on having a dynamic quarterback and a good running back, and those two rooms have been paper thin.
Well, and this is Hallie's point here, which is what I would say to Lawrence's point with the Exodus. Even if we had those guys, there was no plan B. There's no plan B. And so you can have a guy who may not be dynamic, but he's serviceable.
Right. And,
like Cam Martin.
Philip asked, would Boobie have been a part of that? He was injured his freshman year. Like, he was on the team, but he was hurt. And so they hadn't even figured out whether or not he was going to play wide receiver or running back at that point in time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He was athlete, actually. Came as athlete. And then I think before that 2018 or 19 season, he bulked up. Was it 2018 who was our main back? Was it 2019?
That was Bo's freshman year, so it would have been
2019.
2019. So he bulked up.
Yeah, 2019. Yeah. So
but Boobie didn't have the speed that we've seen from other backs, but he also dropped the ball too much. So he could be productive while he was in the game. But again, I remember his endurance was really a thing. Like, he was down on the ground after like late second quarter, and we're trying to get some tempo going, and he couldn't hold up.
Yeah.
Which always makes us just wow at Kerryon Johnson, because he could hold up. And Trey Mason.
Yeah.
Trey Mason. We weren't splitting back reps with Trey Mason, man. And that was the fastest Gus's offense has ever gone. And Trey Mason didn't take snaps out. Man was a machine.
Yeah. Yeah. We've lamented our thoughts about him. God bless Trey Mason. What a back at Auburn. Any more thoughts about the preview? I guess is there anything we need to let people know about? I know we're going to be there in the mix, but be on the lookout for us this week. The War Rapport will be present. I know people were saying for some of the guys that asked certain questions, but we will definitely be present. Be on the lookout for that.
And Harsin's Day is Thursday, correct?
Thursday. Okay. That is correct.
So we're going to cover any and everything that gets discussed at Media Days when we have our midweek report on Wednesday. But of course, Harsin talking on Thursday. We'll have a much more thorough breakdown of that on next week's Sunday Weekend Tailgate.
For sure. Guys, please do us a favor. Share this video if you're on social media. Use the hashtag. Also, please be sure to smash the like button. Help us with our engagement, guys, as we're live. We greatly appreciate it. It really does help when you do that. And if you're new to the channel, please be sure to hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. Let's take time to acknowledge the sponsors of the War Rapport.
This edition of the War Rapport is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial futures, let Athletic Architects help you start to build your financial house. Head over to buildthehouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2Energy.com.
Definitely make sure that you all get in on everything that we've got going on in the War Rapport. And that includes being a member of the War Rapport community. And as a member, you get a few perks, right? So we get early access to interviews right now. We're going to have film review stuff that's going to be behind the paywall. But coming up next in our series, we did get an opportunity to sit down with Shedrick Jackson and talk to him. So that is going to be going live for members. The Shedrick Jackson interview is going live for members tomorrow. I said earlier, Evan McGuire was coming up next. He is the next guy on the list of recruits, not recruits, excuse me, of guys that we talked to that's going to be going live for everybody Thursday. But let's just get a quick preview of what that conversation, myself and Mike G, sitting down with Shedrick Jackson. That's going to be, again, live for members if you're a member tomorrow. We've noted just the commitment it feels like that this team, or the renewed commitment this team has to the philosophy that the coaching staff has.
It's just us being more connected, coming together more, and just buying into what Coach Harsin is getting across to us and other coaches too. So,
is there any one thing that you think you've learned from him or picked up from him since he's joined the staff?
I couldn't even just pick one thing. It's just so much, just all the little things.
Who's the guy that Auburn fans, besides yourself, that Auburn fans should look out for this season, and they're going to say, man, Shed told us before the season, that dude right there was going to be something special?
Tavares Dolphin. We call him Chick, out of Florida. He runs like a Florida boy. He runs routes like a Florida boy.
Georgia State game, right? So let's back up to the Georgia State game last year. You did a little. I was like, wait a minute, Shed might got a little bit of that in him. So I was like, is that just something that just came out in the moment, or like what was up on that?
I'm quiet, but I got a little bit of that to me. So I'm gonna do it just come naturally. I mean, I'm not like a big trash talker like somebody like Smoke that's just gonna be talking all the time, as like that. But yeah, that was just something that came natural. I mean, I caught it.
Yeah, that was our conversation, or a little bit from our conversation with Shedrick Jackson. That's going live for members tomorrow, so you guys make sure you're tuned in there. As every show, we're doing a giveaway. We're giving away a War Rapport flag, sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Make sure you get #Get Your Weight Up in the comment section here in the live chat if you want to be able to get an opportunity to win that. We'll be giving that away here in about 20 minutes or so. You have to be present to win. We'll stick around for a little bit, see if you show up, but if you don't, Saturdays. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport, on all of your podcast platforms. Make sure you are rocking with us there if you want to get the audio version of the conversations that we have, as well as some podcast exclusive content. And we are coming up on SEC Media Days, as we said before. And if you are part of the Auburn fan base and you are having a lot of anxiety about Auburn football as it's coming up, don't worry. Your boys at the War Rapport have a sponsor here for you that can help you get a little calm in your system, and that is our guys at the Rogue Shop. We'll get a quick word from them, and then we'll get back into our conversation.
This episode of the War Rapport is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to rogueshop.com and use code RAPPORT when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
Definitely shouts out to Rogue Shop for definitely sponsoring us. Been one of our best sponsors. We love those guys. Appreciate you. Let's get into the other conversation. I see some of the comments, questions, guys, you're sending us. Please continue to submit those. We see them. We'll try to address them later on in the show. But let's get into the second discussion. And this is a pretty interesting one. every year there's a list of what's known as the blue chip ratio list. And basically what this list is, guys, and help me out if I get something wrong here, but it's basically a list of the 15 teams who have a chance to win a national title based on the number of blue chips currently signed to their program or on their roster, right? And one of the things that's interesting about this is unless you're a JUCO, they typically don't count transfers because of how the recruiting classes are structured year in and year out. So we want to show you guys what the latest, the 2022 recruiting or the blue chip ratio list looks like. And it's as follows. Now, Mike G's not here with us, so I can't get his famous drum roll, but here it goes anyway. If you notice, obviously at the top, you're going to see kind of the usual suspects: Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, followed by Oklahoma. I'm curious to see how they look over the next few years with a new regime there. Of course, that's a program that's going to recruit itself anyway, but it's always curious to see how they look with a new coaching change. A&M is at 70%, followed by Texas, which I expect them to continue to recruit at a high level. LSU's behind them with 66%, followed by Clemson, Notre Dame, Florida, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, Miami, which, given their new head coach, I expect them to be in this list moving forward regularly. But look who comes in at 15. Oh, Auburn at 54%. These are teams who have signed more blue chip recruits than none over the last 4 classes. Ike,
yeah,
you've had some pretty strong thoughts about this. What do you make of this list?
So there's a couple of things that I think when we talk about the blue chip. So it's 4-star and 5-star recruits, right? So like percentage of your roster comprised of those two. There's a few things that I think about this. It's a shame that we think of our roster so lowly. I just hear so many people talk about how little talent we have on our roster. And listen, it's not like we're in the top 5. So I'm not saying that we are the most stellar of talented programs in the country, but to be in a position that we are in, which I will have to give credit to the previous staff for this, right? Like the current staff can't take credit for this. They haven't been around for 4 years. Right. There's not 4 years of recruits for this. Most of this is going to be due to our defense, which is evidenced by how good our defense has been over the last 6-7 years, right? But we have talent on this team. And I just get so tired of people saying we are talentless on this roster when it's clear that that's not true. And I get that you want to, so if you're looking at comparatively within the SEC, there is Bama, Georgia, A&M, LSU, Florida, all above us on this list, just in our conference, right? So it's a tough conference. So but my point is that we do have talent on our roster. It's more so about, for me, over the last year specifically, how much of that talent was bought into the new system that we had in place, right? So it's not just, man, we had a bunch of talent and we finished 6-7 last year. Bryan Harsin must not be a good coach. No. We have a lot of talent on this roster. How much of that talent is bought in and fits well with what this new coach wants to bring in? Like you mentioned Oklahoma, right? Oklahoma's high on this list, but how much of that talent, number one, is going to stay on Oklahoma, but number two is going to fit with whatever new system Venables wants to implement there at Oklahoma? He's going to want to bring in a bunch of defensive guys. Do those exist at Oklahoma right now for him to have the talented defenses that he's known to put out for Clemson? Are people going to all of a sudden say Coach Venables can't coach defense if Oklahoma doesn't make some astronomical leap in year one defensively?
Right.
So I just think the thing that I want to say in regards to blue chip talent is, number one, let's erase the narrative that Auburn has no talent. That's just not true. But number two, I want us to get into a position where we start to understand that it's not just about how much talent you have, it's continuity and it's buy-in. There's a portion of that has to happen in order for that team to be successful. But we are not in the doldrums of college football and have this dearth of talent that people want to proclaim that exists.
Right.
So in other words, what I'm hearing from you, and I don't want to, I'm going to ask you your thoughts in a minute, B, even if we have to pull it back up. But in other words, fans should be encouraged by hearing, if you're listening to the interviews that we're having with our players, if you're listening to the conversation we've had with Bryan Harsin, the messaging that we're receiving is that players are buying in.
Right.
And you add that to what outlets feel about our talent level, you should be encouraged and hopeful for this year as opposed to doom and gloom.
I mean, you should at least be in a wait and see mode, right? Like I get anybody not wanting to jump on the we are gonna, go undefeated. I'm not there, right? But if you're in a position where you're saying to yourself, we're gonna be terrible this year and we'd be lucky to have 4 wins, I'm like, how? What are you looking at to get you to feel like that? Again, we have talked to, I don't know what the number is now of players that are on this current roster. A lot of them have had a carryover between the previous regime and this current regime. And I'm telling you, to a person, they've said, this is the best that I felt about our chances going into the season since I've been here. It just feels different this year.
How's that?
I'm going to take the word of those guys.
How's that not encouraging?
It's encouraging. It's encouraging. It's so it's encouraging. If anybody wanted to be negative about the talent that we have here, it's not because we don't have talent. It's that compared to our immediate rivals and our most frequent competition, we have significantly less talent. And as we've all noted, these blue chip ratings are based on signees over the last 4 years. We were not exactly hitting on many 4 recruits.
Right.
Over the last, over Gus's tenure, and we'll have some time to bear out how that's worked for Harsin in the first 2 cycles as time goes on. But what's his name? He ended up at Troy playing cornerback, but he came in as a 4-star running back.
Oh, Barrett.
His name right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Barrett.
Matthew Hill. Let me see who else. I think Malik Willis was actually a 3-star, but he didn't get a shot here, and now he's in the NFL. Offensively, players have not panned out. They have not fulfilled their potential based on their star rating on the offensive side of the ball. And that has happened frequently, really, over the last 8 years. I think we saw there was one service who ranked or rated transfers. Bo Nix may have come in a 5-star quarterback. He did not leave out rated as a 5-star prospect. As a transfer, I think he was like a high 3, low 4 or something like that. The players that they brought in here, now they may have contributed to this nice total of, we're in top 15. Yeah, but really? You think that holds up? And so some of that is on evaluation. Who are you prioritizing? I think we talked about it earlier. We're talking about quarterbacks. We went to get Stidham. We got the day I was ready to get rid of Gus Malzahn, Tyler Queen over Lamar Jackson. Hey, buddy, listen, you got to go. You blew it. One guy won a Heisman. One guy retired from football 3 years later after paying for it like a Division II school. That was it. If you want a more succinct case of you don't know what you're doing, picking and recruiting talent, there it goes. You got to go. So these numbers
that just boggles my brain though. I don't understand because you were an offensive coach, and that's what I was just saying about the quarterback. Like your whole system is predicated on this. How do you not have a stable of these dudes?
He didn't want his system to be predicated on that because he had been pigeonholed into, you're the running offense guy. I could do,
but it was working. Who cares what people? It works, bro.
That's like Nick Saban saying, "Well, I ain't gonna coach defense because people say that's all I had. That's all I'm known for."
And
bro,
so and Nick Saban real. And so this is the one thing I will give absolute credit to Gus Malzahn is he realized I don't have a first clue what I'm doing as a defensive guy. Let me go try to get as good a defensive coordinator as I can. And I'm going to make sure we give him all the money in the world. Overpay, if some would say. I mean, I don't know if you can overpay considering the defense is what saved your job for a couple of years, but overpay for the position really reset the market for a defensive coordinator. Him in between what Dabo was doing in Clemson and what we were doing here at Auburn, we reset the coordinator market for defensive coordinators.
Yes, we did.
Right.
Yes, we did.
Right.
Nobody was making that much money as a DC until Auburn and Clemson started doing that.
Fact.
Yeah. But as you can see, and to your point, our defensive blue chip ratio, our blue chip ratio is heavily slanted towards the defensive side of the ball. We were able to recruit very well defensively and produce very well defensively. And it's partly because we were overpaying on the defensive side of the ball between not only the defensive coordinator and Kevin Steele, but also the assistant staff. He said, I need more. Hey, man, look, we had more assistants coming in for the secondary. So we had 2 secondary coaches instead of 1. We had multiple guys at each level because it was deemed as valuable and that side was produced. And so it makes complete sense. This number, I understand again why people are down on us. It's because this number doesn't compare well to the numbers. We play Alabama every year. They're our main rival. And
look
are
at the gap, though.
35 full percentage points.
No, not between us and the top. I'm talking about, okay, so like between us and the next one, it's 1. It's going up by 4 here between Penn State and Michigan, by 1, by 2, by 1, by 3, by 2, by 1, by 6, 3, then 9.
Yeah.
9% difference between Bama and number 2. There is no bigger gap anywhere else on this list than between 1 and 2.
Right. So, and shout out to Chase here in the comments. He was like, "Hey, you guys, man, y'all gonna talk about this on the show? We were gonna talk about
89% of your roster consists of 4 stars and above."
So this is where now there's something to be said about.
Oh, I wish Mike G was here because I know where we about to go. Continue.
About evaluation, right? About evaluation and getting your guys in with this transfer cycle. So this was the most active transfer cycle we've seen ever this last offseason. We lost a lot. A lot of it was culture and fit. We saw a lot of places who were doing a lot of lose a lot of talent, but we also saw Alabama lost a lot of talent in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
All those guys didn't go to be the number 1 option on a team in the Big 10 or Big 12 who hadn't had so much. Some of these guys went down to like group of 5. Alabama isn't hitting on every recruit that they land. But when you are recruiting at this percentage,
right.
Next up, I'm not getting the playing time I wanted. I'm out of here. It doesn't matter. You know why? Because we've got a guy just that we thought would be just as good. Because honestly, we are sitting here lamenting how, man, we missed out on this 4-star. We lost a 4-star to Florida State, or we lost a 4-star to Tennessee, or whoever's getting the last few announcements. Nobody is hitting at 100% clip on recruits. What's hurting us is that when we are getting recruits and that 4-star doesn't pan, we've got very little talent behind them. That does make a difference. The way you shore that up is you make your 2s and 3s play like 3s and 4s, and some of your 3s play like 5s, development. And that's where we are strengthening significantly between the staff that we're assembling, the approach to professional development, the scout that we just got in that's going to be in charge of our scouting nationwide. That is where we are shoring up, and that's why we have to shore up there. Because as you can see, the top dogs, we're out of their league recruiting right now. We are in that second tier of recruiting, as evidenced by being on the screen right here. The fact that we're on this screen means we can be competitive recruiting, but you have to hit for it to transfer on the field. So we weren't hitting enough, and we weren't developing the guys that were just the 2s and 3s. So the non-blue chips, we aren't making them better, but the blue chips were striking out. And that's how you get to the place we've been on the field the last few years. We've addressed one of those issues, which is, okay, if we're non-blue chips, we're not developing them. Let's fix that. That's the easiest thing to fix because I don't have to convince a whole slew of new guys why we're the best place for them. I just need the staff that knows football and knows personnel to make the guys who are already here better. You bring them in, you construct a plan, you devise a strength and conditioning plan for them, a professional development plan for them. I need exactly what Harsin has done. I need to overhaul the staff, all on the same page about what is going to make a player great at his position, who understands that, who is willing to buy in with my vision as a coach for how to get these guys there, and we can change all that over. Now, we have a plan in place to turn our non-blue chip recruits into guys who produce like blue chip recruits. Now, that's not going to show up on this graph. That's not going to show up in these numbers, but that's where you make the first improvement, and we have. Now, something else that sticks out to me. Clemson, over the last 4 years, has recruited middle of the pack, if you're going to say blue chip recruits. 63%. There are, let me see, Bama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson. Clemson and LSU have won national championships since the playoff has been instituted. 5 teams have won national championships. Clemson has the lowest count. And this is what was always impressive to me about what Dabo had going there. Defensively, he made sure that they were going to stay competitive because I got the guy who can keep us great defensively. Keep him. If he wants to leave, pay him more. Give him more control. Give him all the say on the defense. I don't even have to think about defense. I don't have to look that way. If I just got to come in and shake his hand and do a goofy little dance in a goofy outfit to close the deal, I will do it. I am Dabo. That's what I'll do. Cool. Venables, you got it. 63%. You know why that 63% allows them to win a couple championships? Quarterback. You hit on quarterback, you in there.
Yeah, I mean, they had some amazing receivers too. But
I mean, they did. They did.
Yeah.
They did. But the success at quarterback really with Deshaun Watson allowed them to start recruiting better offensively. Because you could say, oh, no, we got quarterback. We got that down. Come on in. And that fixes a lot of problems. LSU, they had a unreal wide receiver room when they won the championship in 2019. They've had unreal wide receiver rooms before, though. It was just Zach Mettenberger throwing to Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry.
I mean, you was 3 yards in a cloud of dust, though, under Les Miles.
Because they didn't have the quarterback.
But I still don't understand how LSU was recruiting wide receivers that good and they never threw the ball.
Because
you didn't have no one in house, man. You didn't have anybody in that state. Also,
right. They didn't have anybody competing with them competitively. Recruiting the state of Louisiana is something that LSU has always been able to do, whether they are good or not, and that's a credit to them. That's a credit to them in what a force they are in their state, because now there aren't that many football powerhouses in the state, or there aren't any outside of LSU, really. So,
you know what? That's why Georgia hates us so much.
We go in and steal some. We do.
Because they are the powerhouse in that state, but we routinely steal talent from them. Routinely.
Right.
Yeah. So we do. So quarterback here what you can see is that LSU and Clemson, the quarterback made all the difference for both of the championships for Clemson and for the championship for LSU. That was it. Almost entirely. Blue chip recruits, we're talking percentages of players all over the roster in all positions. If I swap out that one player, Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson in those years, or Joe Burrow in 2019, they don't win championships. I am 100% sure about that. 100%.
I will say this. And Chase kind of alluded to it. I was already thinking it. The ACC championship did become the Clemson Invitational.
It did. It absolutely did.
It became the Clemson Invitational. Like it was easy as long as, and I mentioned this before too, because you had Brent Venables, oftentimes Clemson's offense was flat for a good part of the season. When they became a contender by the end of the season, when it came time for bowl season or playoff season, they had figured out all of the issues on that side of the field, but they had an amazing defense that bought them a lot of time to do just that.
Yep.
So they were legit by like the Bamas and the Ohio States by the time, but week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, several years, I would say, man, Clemson looking kind of sus. They looking mad sus. But by the end of the year, Venables had bought him enough time to where they look like a well-oiled machine. And so I think that's another thing, being in that conference and having that defensive coordinator in place is why Clemson was able to capitalize, given that they were in the middle of the pack.
Right. That's true. And that's something we also saw here when we were good offensively. 2013 comes to mind and 2017 come to mind. If you don't have the studs everywhere, it's a process of development and building the habits in the offense. The coordinators and the staff have to find the guys and find the skill sets that they have that are going to let them thrive in the offense. It's a discovery process that has to happen when you don't have just studs everywhere. Yeah. They have to learn how to be on field. Some guys get the Shedrick Jackson is a perfect example of, I think if his career ended in 2020, we would have said Shedrick was a very mediocre middling wide receiver. I mean, thank you for your service, but we need somebody better. If his career ended then, look what happened when you put a guy on the field, teach him a professional offense, and then give him an opportunity to thrive. He looked great. To me, he was the most dependable wide receiver we had as we rounded out the end of the season, and he would have never gotten that opportunity. He would have been blocking his whole Auburn career under Gus, and we would have never known that he can do what he did the end of last year and what I expect him to do this season. The low numbers as far as the percentages compared to the high percentages like Bama and Georgia, it means that you have to be able to evaluate. Not only do you have to evaluate and recruit and get them in, but you have to develop them. We couldn't develop anybody, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like we've got the opportunity to do that. And that's necessary if you're going to compete against those high 70s and low 80s and even high 80 teams in Bama. You have to be able to get it together. And that's staff, that's coaching. That's the difference between why Miami is one step above us. But the last 4 years, what has Miami been? They've been awful. Right. They had some good defensive teams. Because I remember one time, they're back. They weren't really back because their offense was always going to be terrible. But they at least got some guys on the field. But did it amount to team success? No, it didn't, because they couldn't get a formidable offense together out of the guys that they recruited. They never could. And the same thing for us. We could not do it to save Penn State. They're right there. They are right there on this list, and they've been middling as well. They've been just as disappointing for the talent that they brought in as we have. Think about this. We were competing a very hotly contested game against Penn State. We were there on the goal line at the end of the game, and they were picked to do all this stuff. They had these highly touted recruits that they were supposed to blow us out, according to some people. They ended up, 7-6? The only difference between their season and our season is that they won that game. Yeah. That's it. Right. Except the prospects on ask James Franklin. Now he signed a lifetime contract the year before and all this stuff. And he was the nod to get the USC job. Why? We're in the same boat. We're almost the same identical program. But what you do with that talent makes a difference, man. That's why Penn State doesn't scare me. That's why, because I don't think that they have the coaches for it. You've been recruiting well, but what have you done with it? Nothing. Florida, same thing. You've been recruiting well. What have you done with it? Nothing. Cristobal has something going in Oregon, which is why he's at 60% on this list. He's at number 11. But offensively, they just couldn't do it, man. It's so rare to be able to take that 55% to 60% mark and turn it into competitive with the people far above you. It's coaching staff and development at that point, and getting them in here is only the first step. We got to be better than just getting them in here. We got to develop them into something significant.
Before we get to the drawing, Ike, you prepared a second graphic that kind of shows where we are given is the portal, correct?
This takes into effect how many people transferred out of the program and all that kind of thing. So it takes JUCO transfers, those sort of things as well. It doesn't go in with non-JUCO transfers are not factored into this. According to the article, they were saying that it's rare that a transfer player significantly impacts the outcome for any team to that level. They're saying
it's rare.
Yeah,
this is rare. It doesn't happen. It's just rare
to be able to compete nationally. They did point out the anomaly that was Cincinnati, right? Because Cincinnati got a bunch of guys in and they were able to get there, but then they face somebody who has a high blue chip ratio and they still get stomped, right? So It's just not. It's rare that it's going to be a significant difference for a team, according to the article. I don't know that I 100% agree with that. Again, this isn't our stat, but
right.
You know,
I mean, Joe Burrow is the shining example of okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look and see where it puts us given the transfers. So Bama actually 4%. Increased.
Right.
Jeez Louise. Ohio State drops 2 percentage points. Georgia remained the same. I think that's the largest drop outside of Miami.
Yeah,
with
Oklahoma. Miami have the biggest drops.
Yeah, at 6%, -6%. A&M drops 1 point. Texas drops 1 point. I mean, obviously for LSU, given the coaching trend change, they drop a -4%. Clemson drops -1. Notre Dame drops -1, which is, I mean, I guess that's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive considering what they went through.
I think it'll be interesting to see where Notre Dame ends up next year.
Yeah,
after a year of the transition.
Yeah. So this takes into account the exits of the blue chips that you originally signed, but not the signees that were transfers that you brought in.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
so
unless it was a JUCO transfer.
Right. So if it was JUCO, it counts as part of a signing class, and that's in your signing class. So for that reason, it makes complete sense why Miami is not higher, because they cleaned up in the transfer portal. So they would probably be higher if that was accounted for. For us, and again, we so it looks like right now we end up at 50%. Miami's at 49%, but again, I don't think 49 is accurate for them. We would probably be 15th on this list still, if this was ranked, because with the transfer ranking percentage, it's not reordered. They got the original order up here, but we would still be 15. And man, it's hard to be so sad about that, because you say, oh, well, they lost his 3-star and 4-star and 4-star. Man, I think about Calvin Ashley, right? 5-star offensive tackle who transferred from here, transferred again, ended up at Florida A&M, and his eligibility is done for college. I don't know if he's on a roster. I think he's actually in the the football league that just ended USFL. Because Birmingham won it.
USFL.
Yeah, I think he's in the USFL. I'm not sure, but like, look at that. He didn't contribute significantly at any power in a Division I school ever.
Yeah.
A 5-star signee. Now, what would our ranking have been that year if you take a 5-star? They weighted heavily. You're dropping like 3 ranking spots if you remove a 5-star. And he did nothing for us. He did absolutely nothing for us. Byron Coward did nothing for us. We've lost things, and this looks like, oh man, y'all have done bad. Y'all go down 4 percentage points. Like, yeah, but there are guys who left here who aren't even at a program.
Right.
So I don't know how much to make of this, man. As long as the staff is turning the guys who are still here and the guys who came in into competent football players, but we just got to get on the field and see what we got.
And I think, and to something we've said, we got to show and prove on the field, because I think a lot of people are in wait and see mode, because I think this staff can get to where they're attracting 4-stars, even an occasional 5-star here and there. But see, those guys are going to situations that are a lot more certain. You know, you look at some of the, I get it. FSU has not been impressive, but when you look at schools like Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, these are they're more of a known. And even though I believe we have a coaching staff that understands and emphasizes development and have things in places that gives these kids on our roster more hope, being more positive, we still have to see the results on the field. And I think that's what recruits are looking at moving forward. And so if we can show that we can do something with our talent moving forward, I think that takes care of the recruiting. So we're in a wait and see mode. Definitely want to hear from you guys. You're already commenting if you're watching live, but definitely let us know your thoughts if you are watching on replay. Guys, we are giving away an AU flag today, courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. That's our guy, Walt Taylor, friend of the show. Appreciate you, Walt. You know what to do if you want to enter the win. Drop a hashtag, get your weight up in the comments. But remember, you got to be there in order to win your prize. We about to draw. All right, take it away, sir.
Yes, sir. 62 entries today. Today, we are giving away the flag courtesy of GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. That flag is going to none other than Zach Smith. Zach Smith, where you at? Holler at us in the comments to let us know that you're still here, and we will make sure to get that out in the mail to you. But Zach Smith, if you are here, just give us a shout in the comments, and we will tell you what to do from there.
Now, some of you may be hating already. Some of y'all going to be yelling, he gone. We're going to need you as a word from this upcoming sponsor to chill.
Treat your boys. Chill Boys underwear is designed for maximum comfort with enough space to keep you cool, calm, and comfortable. Chill Boys underwear will help you keep the boys close, not too close. When the game is on the line, you won't break a sweat with Chill Boys underwear. Whether it's left boy, right boy, or both boys, Chill Boys provides your boys comfort like you never felt. Maximize your chill with Chill Boys.
Yes, sir. So, yes, I think we're still waiting to see if Zach is here. But if you're not here, Zach, you're still going to have to chill. All right? Because we're going to draw again. Let's get to some of the questions, man. Let's get to some of the questions, some of the comments. Arctic Blizzard asks, if we win the flag, how about autographed by you guys?
I like that.
I mean, we don't ship the flags directly, so we'd have to like meet you at a game or something like that and put an autograph on there. So, or I'd have to ship it to myself, and then because we don't all live in the same place, I have to ship it to myself, and then I have to ship it to B Will, and I have to ship it to Mike, and then ship it to you. It take forever for you to get your flag. So,
you drive by Ike's house,
right? Yeah. So I don't know, but yeah,
drive-bys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll you know, if you win it, if you request, we'll figure something out. We aim to please over here. Nimfufu asks, odds of getting an interview with Tank. I guess he was referring to this upcoming week at Media Days.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, if we can pull him to the side, we'll try to. I don't have any reason not to try to get in there with him. Otherwise, like as far as him sitting down and coming to talk to us on a building rapport, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to that either. But we will try to get something from all three of the guys that are going to be at SEC Media Days. So stay tuned.
Starkby says, how many commits do y'all think we might get at Big Cat weekend?
I mean, I think that there's going to be at least one or two. There's been rumored that it could be up to 4, but not sure at all. That's one thing I will be honest with you. If you're not someone who's been on the program for a while and you weren't here last off season, I do not get into recruiting super heavy because I can't let my life get bogged down in the decisions of 17-year-old kids and what they decide to do, because they could change their mind tomorrow. Like, I just wait until we sign them. Once the signing period ends, I talk about the dudes that we signed. Yeah, I try not to get too wrapped up into who might commit and all this kind of stuff. Signing is what I care about. When they sign, we'll talk about it. But that's just not my thing. And there are a lot of great, listen, auburnsports.com is a great source, and they are a partner with us. They're a great place to go and get in with recruits. I just can't do it, man. Like,
we listen, we do a lot just to let you know of certain things.
Yeah.
Chasing uncertain things is tough for us. So that's why we definitely have worked to cultivate relationships with people who actually do it and do it well. So, usually we're going to try to work on bringing in a B Matt or someone from auburnsports.com a little bit more often to keep you guys posted. We definitely going to do something around Big Cat weekend for sure to kind of recap that weekend. So be on the lookout for that. Definitely
But yeah, I mean, to answer your question though, I think, it's going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 from the rumors that I hear around there. But again, those are just rumors. I don't know anything definitive outside of that.
Yeah. Thomas, we appreciate the super sticker. And I think you did ask a question, that question being, any word on commitments that was supposed to happen at 11 a.m.? I think that was Jelani Thurman.
Yeah, he chose Ohio State.
That's your word. Yeah, we can move on. Guys, it's that time. It's one of my favorite times of the show.
Aw, yeah. Welcome to another Jazzy Challenge.
Where is he for 100? We're at a bit of a disadvantage because there's three of us. He was in Alabama. He went to Tennessee the next day. And I haven't kept up with him since, so he could be anywhere.
He could be anywhere. He's the new Carmen Sandiego.
Oh, that gives me an idea, but nah,
We're gonna do a doo-wop like the game show that they made out of that.
Yeah, man. I'll figure it out. Let's see. I am going to say that Jazzy is in. I'll go with Missouri.
Man, it's hard. It's tough, man. You know what? So here's what we can do. If we geographically pick states that are one state away from, not next to, but like a state across from, then we can kind of like box in an area and be guaranteed like $50 if we're in the right area.
Right. I was about to say, because if you're in the wrong area, you're doing it in the Midwest, and he's somewhere in the in New England.
So but see, that's why you need four guys here, because we can just pick one of those in each pocket of the, you know what I'm saying? You gonna go out west, B? You gonna do it?
He said, "Where in the world is Jazzy Jodiango?" That's good. I like it.
I like that actually. I
like Jazzy Jodiango. That's funny. I'm trying to say. You say Missouri. I'm gonna say Texas, because Texas touches a lot of states, but it doesn't touch Missouri. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I'm not trying to. I think I'm going to go North Carolina.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Go North Carolina.
If Caesar wins, then he has to, by law, then take his shirt off, swing it around his head. Yeah,
waving like a
helicopter. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was all on one Honda.
All right. FX NHD says, I was at the game when Petway had the hamstring. Oh, I remember that moment. I remember when he blew that hamstring so bad. It was really sad to see, but I loved him and Johnson in the backfield. Does anyone else think we overworked our running backs under Gus? Thoughts on that, gentlemen?
I think that, like fans, Trey Mason spoiled Gus Malzahn into thinking, oh, I can just keep running my running backs this way, and everybody ain't built like that.
Yeah,
that was it. I mean, you don't have a number two prepared, and it's not that we didn't have talented number twos. I think even if they aren't as good as RB1, listen, you give a dude some reps. Yeah, like physically, how is he going to be able to stand up to what that position requires if he isn't getting repetitions to get used to it, to get accustomed to it?
That's so weird, though. I would just expect, because of how Cam Petway worked out, you would be more inclined to play more guys in hopes of stumbling across a jewel like a Cam Petway. Because again, if things had worked out well, Cam Petway would have been an H-back till his eligibility ended.
Probably. So
it's weird how it created that effect with Petway as opposed to him playing more guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, whatever. Jazzy says, if there was a salary cap in college, would Alabama have to give up players?
Oh, it'll be way different. I love this question because as I have often used why I could not accurately say a coach is the best college football coach. I don't know who's a good coach based on the way college football is structured. If I can give Nick Saban 89%, well, not give, he earned some of that. Some of that is absolutely earned, but who the school is, where they're at, so much goes into what type of talent pool you get, how well you're compensating under the table, and now with NIL over the table. Especially with NIL now, can I say that Jimbo earned the 70% or the best recruiting class ever? You weren't recruiting that well when y'all couldn't give people checks. So no, I don't think that has anything to do with Jimbo Fisher. Nothing. But he's going to get to use those tools to try to win a championship. The NFL, there is no other sport where you can say, just get whatever you can get. College basketball, college football, baseball, not so much, because you can be tracked and recruited anywhere from college for baseball professionally. You can play straight out of high school. You can get drafted and choose to not play. You can go to whatever state in the corner of Maine, and you can still be on somebody's radar and have just as good a chance as somebody who played at the best college baseball program. So baseball, it doesn't matter nearly as much. But you're telling me that, is there any other sport? We divide fights, whether it's UFC or boxing or whatever, by weight class. You know why? Because you being able to punch a hole in this guy's chest and weighing 50 pounds more than him, that matters. So we're not going to put you in the same ring with the guy who is that much more powerful than you, because it's not fair. But for some reason in college football, it's like, yeah, what? So what? Your offensive lineman 6 feet and 280 pounds, and the defensive end is 6'5" and 300. Oh, who cares? I'm just going to do it. No, it's not fair. And then Bama is rolling over people in the cupcake games, and we've got these monsters everywhere else across major football, college football, and they're supposed to compete with people who not only skill wise, we're not talking guys who not only may they not physically stand the test. Yeah, you could have a 6'1" corner that's 180 pounds that plays. That's a really good corner, plays for somebody. But if the difference is that the one at the major programs his vertical is much better. His closing speed is much better. His eye tracking and how he tracks a quarterback. Now, those are mental things those are skills that you develop or you don't. There are a lot of prospects who are rated very highly who don't have these intangible skills that you can't measure, and they end up being not as good as some guys on the lower level who do end up projecting higher and going to the NFL, because those are skills that you aren't born, or you might be born with them, but they aren't measurable. You just have it, or you develop it, or you don't. But college football, man, it's amazing to me that we sitting here try to rank coaches based on this.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same in college basketball too.
It's the same in college basketball, which is why that's shaky. I'm glad we're getting into the game on college basketball, so I don't have as much of a gripe about that. But in college football, I still don't understand how
it's so much different with football though, because it requires so many more to land, right? Like you can get one or two really good basketball players and change your program. Right. You need one almost. Yeah.
You need like several at key positions. Like,
yeah, I mean, you need two or three, but like it's got to be the right two. Like they got to be. If it's only two or three, they got to be them ones. Right. Like it's got to be Cam Newton and Nick Fairley at the same time.
Right. Exactly. Because without those guys, I don't think, again, Bomani Jones, I like listening to his podcast. He always hypes up Cam Newton, what he was able to do at Auburn, because if you go down the roster of how many NFL guys were on the team with you the year you won a championship, 2010 Auburn was the fewest in like 20 years. The fewest in 20 years. Cam had one other guy with him. That's it. Nick Fairley. That's it. Everybody else ended up in the CFL. You might have had some tryouts for the NFL, but those two bolstered the entire team. They were the entire team. They were why we were able to achieve what we achieved that year. And so college football, man, if there was anything like a salary cap, and I don't know how you would make that happen. That means people would have to start paying players, so then you could track it, and then you could say, hey, that's too much or that's not enough, and they wouldn't have enough to pay the next 5-star recruit at the same position, like these 3 5-star wide receiver classes Alabama brings in. It wouldn't happen. 3 quarterbacks all in the same couple years where all of them are 5 stars from wherever, it wouldn't happen because you're still paying one. And my guess is if a Bryce Young performed very well, then his price goes up, and then you might not have as much money to work with. They are artificial constraints on the pro level. They are, but they are for the sake of balance and competition. We have no checks and balances to keep somebody from getting way better than their competition in college. And yeah, it would look different, but it would look different for a lot of people. For Ohio State to have only won 1 championship in the last 20 years, that they got a lot to answer for, which we'll be getting to eventually.
For sure. Appreciate that, Jazzy. James Barnett asked, fellas, in your opinion, was the lack of development and lack of culture the real reason those high stars didn't pan out?
Evaluation.
I'm
is
about to
number
say
one
it
for
started
me.
at evaluation, right? So here's the thing, right? So just for super easy math sake, let's say that there are 10 really highly rated 5-star recruits, right? We'll go the year that Byron Coward came to Auburn. 10 highly rated 5-star recruits. Really only 2 or 3 of those guys, and again, if we're talking percentage wise, only 2 or 3 of those guys are going to be what people thought they were going to be. And likely those guys are going to go to Bama, Georgia, like those guys, the ones that were the top 5 on that list that we just had up there, they're likely going to one of those programs. So, so like the vast majority are going to go there, right? Because they have the pick of where they want to go, and they're going to go to the place that fits them the most, depending upon what their skill set is. And that's why you get all of this, DBU and quarterback U stuff, right? Because people know if I'm going to be this type of player, I need to go to this place to be there, right? So the vast majority are going to go to those programs. For a while, Auburn was basically getting the low-hanging fruit, or the guys that were easily accessible in that 5-star place. They were just taking guys because, they have a high star rating. It's going to make us look good if we get 4 or 5 of them. But they weren't the good ones in the bunch.
Right.
We were shopping at Publix, but we was getting the stuff that had been on the counter for a while.
Yeah.
So you can't just walk around with a Publix bag and think, I've upgraded my groceries. No, you still have to get the good groceries from Publix. Everybody else was shopping and getting, like, we were getting the Publix brand stuff, not the high-end stuff that's sold at Publix. You see what I'm saying? There's a difference in the stuff that says Publix on the box and the stuff that came in that was the gourmet stuff. And we were getting the generic stuff from Publix and saying to ourselves, we can compete because we shop at Publix. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
Right.
I remember Jay-Z had a very a short little mini skit at the end of a song called Imaginary Player, where he said you'll probably say something like, I'll pull up in my 4.6 and you'll pull up in a 4.0. I think he was talking about a Mercedes. I'm not sure because I'm not rich.
Yeah, he was talking about a car for sure, though.
Yeah, he was talking about a car. And he said, you'll say something like, well, what's the difference between a 4.0 and a 4.6? He says 40 to 50 grand. So get out of my face.
Get out of my face, cock.
There's a big difference. Yeah, we both in Publix, but what you got, what I got ain't the same thing.
Right.
In the same sense.
And I think also too, when he mentioned culture, it wasn't necessarily lack of culture, it was fit. So when you talk about a Byron Coward, how do you not know that this guy is too tough? Like, how do you not know? You know what I mean? It's when you get there, the relationship between player to coach, it wasn't a fit for him. It didn't work out for him. So oftentimes we would even get these guys and bring them into the program and they don't gel. That happens a lot with players. They just don't gel. They just don't work out.
Or you don't understand how to utilize them, or you don't understand, like, and so that's when it gets into a culture thing of like, putting guys in the, so we've talked about Matthew Hill quite a few times on this program.
Yeah.
And guys like Matthew Hill to me are the anomaly of what I don't understand at Auburn, right? Like Matthew Hill, okay, so maybe he wasn't the best receiver on that team, but he was a dynamic guy with the ball in his hands. I never understood why Matthew Hill wasn't returning kicks for Auburn. Get him on the field to do something. Jason Smith was another one of those guys, blazing speed.
For sure.
But like, why didn't you see him get deployed in other ways? Like, you've got talent on the team that can do things, make them specialists.
Yeah.
I thought we had figured that out when we started employing the speed sweep, right? Because you weren't going to get some of these guys. What was the dude's name in 2010?
I just thought about him too.
The speed sweep.
Mac.
I don't know why my
help
brain
us out.
Oh, Ontario McCaleb.
McCaleb.
So McCaleb is a perfect example of a guy who he was brought here to be really fast and do this one thing really well. And I was like, okay, so we are understanding we need certain things within this offense. And then for whatever reason, we decided we're just going to abandon that winning philosophy and we're going to go in a different direction because somebody told you, well, that's all you can do. So
Yeah,
I'm going to do it really well, better than everybody. Stop it.
Were you stopping it? Yeah.
Ontario Corey Grant, like perfect examples of guys who they were brought in to be a specific thing. And we were like, when is the last time we had a return specialist? Like a guy that could just be that dude in the return game.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I keep thinking, I know Lamar Jackson was like a 3-star recruit in 2015, or the class 2015, and Byron Coward was a 5-star recruit. So we closed that class. We got Coward. We also got, because Muschamp and Robinson, what's his first name? I can't think of it, but the assistant coach under Muschamp who had played for Auburn, Tavares Robinson, excuse me, T-Rob. They knew what they were doing.
Quandre, probably the last return specialist we had. Yes. Go ahead.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
They came from the state of Florida. They were both at Florida, until Muschamp got fired the previous year before 2015. So they knew how to recruit that state. That's how we got Jeff Holland. That's how we got Carlton Davis. And that's also how we got Byron Coward. Byron Coward specifically, he had the Chucky doll to mimic what Dante Fowler had done playing under Muschamp, which is why he signed here. He wanted Muschamp to turn him into the next Dante Fowler. Muschamp was here a year because Muschamp didn't really want to be here. He just wanted to get a job in between his next, looking for his next head coaching duty. So from the minute he got here under Rodney Gardner had a certain coaching style that it pushed you and impressed on the players, and some could take it and some could not. And that was reportedly some of the friction as well. But just think what happens if you take that 5-star off the board and you put a 3-star on Lamar Jackson. But how much differently does that work out? It wouldn't have been pretty. We might have been 14th in the rankings instead of 10th or 11th or whatever we were. I mean, but do we see what the difference in evaluation
is? And that goes back to the point that it's talent evaluation and fit. So there's cultural fit and there's scheme fit, and both of those things have to be. You have to evaluate talent at a high level to be able to find guys that work well within your culture and your scheme. And if you have a coach or a staff that don't understand how to evaluate talent that fits into your culture and scheme, then you get guys that are super talented for your scheme, but they don't fit in your culture, and they become disruptors in your locker room. Or you get guys that are really good culturally, but don't fit scheme-wise, and they never see the field. Right? Like, you've got to have both of those things fit in order to have a cohesion on the field that allows you to compete, regardless of what the star rating is, right? The star rating doesn't matter. If those two things happen well, you can go compete. Can you win national championships? Maybe not, but you start to play better, and then instead of that guy being a 3-star, next year it becomes a 4-star because he sees, oh, the culture and the scheme fit me. I can go play ball there. And then the next year you get a little bit better until you've built a program that is 4- and 5-star heavy, maybe not 89% like Bama, but you start creeping up into the mid 60s, low 70s in those percentages. And because you have cultural and scheme fits, now you're competing for national championships. That's what Clemson did. Clemson found cultural and scheme fits. They didn't have to be stacked with 5-star talents. They got guys who fit what they wanted to do culturally and scheme wise, and then they went out there and developed them into talented national title contending teams.
Right.
For sure. For sure. Jordan Bowen says Penn State, both Mississippi teams, Arkansas and Texas A&M don't scare me at all, for real.
I'm not scared by them, but we can get beat by any of those teams if we don't go out there and do what we're supposed to do. But
that's a fact.
They're not teams that I sit here and look at the schedule and say to myself, I'm honestly not scared by any team that's on our schedule. There are teams that definitely have an advantage right now on paper.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Chase asks, have you guys designated a meetup game yet? And that flows right into Jazzy's comment here. Appreciate the super chat. Let's do a War Rapport meetup for the Mercer game. Do it. Make it happen.
Listen, I intend to be at just about every home game this year anyway. I have no problem figuring out a game that we want to meet up for. I think more people will be there for an SEC game.
Right.
So, maybe, or the Penn State game. The Penn State game might be a good one to do.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
We're gonna see
actually,
about it. We haven't nailed anything down, but we're gonna see. Perhaps.
for sure. May not be a. I don't know. We haven't talked about a tailgate, but we can definitely do a meetup for sure.
Yeah,
we can definitely do a meetup. Absolutely. So we game for that. We just gotta determine which one it'll be. He says Jazzy Joe says Hallie has a tracker on my truck. He says he's in Wyoming.
Oh, he's way up there.
Well, he got to move in. But we can play like it's North Carolina just to see CD Pablo. I see what you did there.
That's good, man.
There.
That's really good, Jazzy. That is quality right there. CD Pablo. I like it.
Exclusive TV says Josh Bynes made it to the league too.
That's right. The 2010 team. Josh Bynes was there too.
Yeah.
But that was still for a championship winning team. We had the lowest draft. Players play professional and even stick professional. It was like the worst in the last 20 years.
Yeah. Exclusive TV comes back and says we were getting great value from Walmart. Basically, go to your analogy of
we were.
I mean, that's what it comes down to me though, is that like, yes, we landed guys that had the star ratings, but we weren't getting the cream of the crop still. There were some people in one of the YouTube comment sections recently that lamented how much star ratings were just kind of like manufactured media things. Like stars were about who was willing to go to, get picked for certain camps and It wasn't really about who was the most talented people. And it's been like that forever, right? Like everybody knows somebody from their hometown that's the best player that they ever saw that never got an opportunity because they didn't get this and this and that, right? Like talent. The reality is that there are way less ethereal talents than people predict. And, I hate to bring his name up, and forgive me in advance for all of you who love this young man, but Bo Nix is a perfect example of, he was rated as a 5-star, but is he a 5-star caliber player when it comes to what he was able to produce on the field? I would say the answer to that is no. And you can talk about system and how he wasn't adequately put in the right position and blah, 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 and this and that. Productivity on the field has to equal productivity on the field, right? Like it is what it is, right? There's no other ways you can shake it out. And I just think that sometimes we get in love with the rating on people and forget that they still have to produce something. Like they have to live up to that rating.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Bankroll Blockade says, do we credit Muschamp for the resurgence of defense we had after 2015? Seems like before defense was lacking. I think you do. I think you do. I think you have to give a lot of credit to Kevin Steele for building that defense, but in terms of
as far as the talent getting here, I think that's when it turned, right? Like Muschamp recruiting in that staff,
him
and T-Rob definitely put us in a different conversation when it came to recruits on the defensive side of the ball. There's no doubt about that. And that's, and that's what we're talking about, like what Miami is doing right now, right? Like a lot of it has to do with who's coaching that team. I mean, shoot, look at Bama. Bama wasn't recruiting like this, like crazy before Nick Saban got there. I don't care how many national titles they had before he got there. The dominance that they've had in recruiting was due to Nick Saban and the staffs that he was putting together, not because of the brand that existed in Tuscaloosa.
Right.
Because if that was the case, they would have stayed in the top whatever and still been relevant, but they were terrible for a lot of years.
Yeah, and even on top of that, to your point, I think it was equally Kevin Steele, because while that was our last shutdown corner in Carlton Davis, and that was our last elite pass rusher in Jeff Holland, Derek Brown and Marlon Davidson came the next year. Muschamp was not there to get them. And that was what really gave us the stability to be a very good defense for the next 4 years was the get there. KJ Britt, and even the development in the secondary. And that was when Muschamp wasn't here for Noah being a competent corner, and McCreary being a very good corner. They continued it. Muschamp jumped it off, but still had to keep it going. In him and his staff, they did.
For sure. Mr. Gibson says, I always hear how Bo Nix and Jeremy Johnson were duds, but what does the War Report think those two players' careers would have looked like had they played for Saban, Swinney, or Mullen?
I don't think they would have played for those guys.
I don't think they saw the field, to be honest.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, I don't think they see the field under any of those teams. Maybe a Mullen team at Mississippi State
would take them.
Mullen would take these guys.
Yeah, but,
Mullen would take these guys.
I don't know that Jeremy Johnson would have seen the field again with anybody, but I mean, just look at the years that Bo Nix was in the SEC. You're saying I'm assuming you say swap him out for Tua or Mac Jones, but like, why would they? Like, I just don't.
Right.
Was Bo getting recruited to go to Bama? Did he have an opportunity to go to Bama?
I don't think so.
I don't
think
he did.
Was he getting recruited to go to Clemson? Like, I don't know what his recruiting.
They give offers to everybody, but that doesn't mean that they were actively.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. Like,
right.
So I don't know. I mean, maybe he would go to Clemson, but he would be DJ Uiagalelei.
But also too, if he does go to those schools, he's not playing as a true freshman.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
He's sitting.
So it's a good chance he may fare better because he's not being thrown into the fire.
He would have been
like
sitting
he did
behind Lawrence in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, he would have had a better chance to be successful at those programs because they would have had quarterbacks he could sit behind.
Right.
So,
but they're recruiting better quarterbacks. He wouldn't have been the best quarterback on the roster in those places either. So again, there's a chance he never sees the field. Or he's like, who's the guy that came out of he was the backup at Clemson for a game. They came on and they I think was it Trevor Lawrence got hurt and he came on and he won a game in mop-up duty. Well, not mop-up duty. He won a game when Trevor Lawrence got hurt. But I think they won that game and then they went on to win the championship that year. But that was his one. That was his one. That was that guy's one game. So he would have been that guy on the roster. But he wouldn't have threatened a Trevor Lawrence for starter. No, or a Mac Jones or a Tua or a Bryce Young. It's just he wouldn't. He wouldn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, to answer that question, in my opinion, I think he would have had a great a chance to actually. I'm not saying he would have lived up to the 5-star potential, but he could have been a really, really good quarterback. I just think he would have had time to develop as opposed to playing as a true freshman.
Right.
And I think that would have yielded a better result for him in terms of playing career, getting into the league, considering everything else was in place for him to succeed.
Yeah.
So, we never saw Zach Smith.
Yeah, I didn't see him either. So
I think we're going to draw again, guys. So throw hashtag get your weight up in the comments if you want to enter to win the flag.
Let's do it. We got 2 additional entries since Zach did not show up. Who actually is him to be able to get this flag from us today? Joseph Ballard, are you still here?
Are you still hanging around? I know we've been going a minute, so
come on, Joseph. Let us know if you are here. Just throw something in the comments. We'll wait around for another few minutes to see if Joseph shows up. Going back here to the comment section while we wait. Spade 07P says so. Basically, Auburn failed him.
You know what?
I don't think. Here's the thing. I've said this multiple times. I don't know how you can be both a Bo Nix lover and a Gus Malzahn lover.
Right.
I don't know how you love both of those guys. If you loved
Right.
Bo Nix, you have to be upset at the way that Gus Malzahn basically set him up to fail.
Mm-hmm.
If you love Gus Malzahn, I don't know how you love Bo Nix as well, because Gus didn't do him any favors, and the years in which Gus and Bo were on the plains together were easily the most tumultuous years that we've had in the program behind the scenes. Easily. Like, I don't know. Well, not easily. Jetgate year was pretty tumultuous. But I'm just saying, like, in recent history, post Jetgate, most tumultuous. Most divided I've seen the fan base is over the issue of Bo Nix. Right. So I just don't know how you love both of those guys, other than you just have this fierce love for Auburn, so you love everything that involves Auburn.
Right. Yeah, I'm in agreement, because we just talked about how thin the quarterback room was, how thin the running back room was, and we know how poorly Gus was able to recruit at the offensive tackles and the offensive line. What more do you need? You need somebody in front of me for me to learn from so I can pick up the offense? Well, you got to have better quarterback than me when I get here. If you needed some support from the backfield so that the running back, if it's going to be centered around him, I don't have to do all the work. Well, you know what? Right. I need better than Boobie Whitlow when I step out on the field to be the quarterback. I need some protection so that run game can work. At that offensive line, if it's a great offensive line, then the running game is clicking, and I can just slowly work my way into this game. You do not have to be an all-world quarterback to win a championship, man. Jacob Coker did it because they had a line and a running back. That's it.
Well, and Mike G's not here, but I will reiterate the point he's made. I think what makes it so egregious at the QB position is because year after year, Gus would sell us on the idea that there was a true quarterback competition.
Right.
And so when we would see the backup or never see the backup, we were like, what kind of competition was there really?
So think about this, because somebody said how Steve Radley says how Gus ruined Jarrett Stidham. Had Jarrett Stidham gotten hurt in 2017?
Oh, we were done.
Gus was fired.
We would have been done.
That year would have looked so bad.
Gus would have been fired that year. Because that was a year people were highly upset about the LSU loss. It's just a distant memory because of the run we went on that year.
Right.
But if Stidham had gotten hurt that year, Gus was done, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Mr. Did you? I'm assuming this is your comment here. Malik Willis gets away from Gus. He's unstoppable. Yeah, I guess that's what he was asking there. Did Gus
ruin Bo?
I stopped short of saying ruin per se, but it's not like
developed. I mean, be will. That's the right word.
Poorly developed. Yeah, poorly developed is the word.
He came back here with another one, but go ahead, bankroll. You can hit that bankroll.
Bankroll Block A says Gus Waffle House menu playbook had 10 plays. Of course, Bo wasn't going to get better.
Yeah, Mr. You know what comes back? Malik Willis got better. He said it again. Was Gus the problem with Nix? Yes or no? What is all of your individual opinions on Malzahn's ability to deliver a QB? I don't think that he has any.
Oh yeah, it's never been that.
He's never shown the ability to take a kid from high school and develop them in such a way to where pro scouts say, that guy, I think I want that guy on my team.
Right.
Now we've seen what he's done with transfers.
Right. Guys who had already become what they were going to be.
I was about to say, because it's not, he didn't do anything to help those guys out. Because, come on, let's be clear.
Not from a development.
He was that guy, man.
He was just that dude.
Sure.
He was that
Nick
guy.
Marshall was that dude. He was that athlete with those instincts.
Now, the one thing I will say about Nick Marshall in regards to Gus Malzahn is Nick was a unique animal that fit Gus's system uniquely. I don't know that he goes and plays starting quarterback anywhere else in the SEC.
No, he doesn't. That's fair. He does not.
What other program would have even allowed Nick Marshall to be their quarterback? They'd have put him at some other position. They would have tried to
cornerback.
Make him a cornerback. Yeah.
Cornerback, because what he played at Georgia.
Right. Yeah. So there would not have been an opportunity to see that had it not been, which is, again, why I've said multiple times on this very episode of this program, why do you fix something that's not broken? Why do you go and say, well, I want to be a guy who and I get it. In order to get better quarterback recruits that can throw the ball, you have to prove that you're able to throw it. But you can get quality dual threat guy. Jarrett Stidham was not a dual threat quarterback. He made a complete pivot away from dual threat to, I want a guy who can throw, who's a little mobile. right? And then for whatever reason, try to pivot back to a true dual threat with Bo Nix. But
yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're asking you're a QB if you want to be a QB that's throwing. Give him routes. Give the receivers routes. Like
And
call things that allow
the rest
like
of his system. Again, that's why I understand why you get away from running back and quarterback depth, because the rest of your system doesn't fit anything other than that. But anyway, I'm sorry I cut you off, C. But yeah,
no. I mean, that was just my only thing. Like, if you're going to change. Like, don't just change your personnel. Change your offense.
Yeah,
right.
And that's the thing that he refused to do. He stubbornly refused. Like, he would bring in offensive coordinators that made small changes to what he wanted to be able to do, but then didn't have the personnel to even be able to do that stuff. Yeah. Right? Like 2020, what is it? 2020 was a disaster.
It was.
It was a disaster offense.
People love trying to say, "Oh, well, we went 6-4 in conference. Arkansas was terrible their first year. Ole Miss was terrible, and South Carolina was terrible. We went 1-2 in games against terrible teams, and we got away with one against Arkansas. Like that record of 6-4 had people talking about how positive, because he was in the positive that year, and Harsin was 6-7 his first year. Wildly different results. Ole Miss and Arkansas in 2021 were better than any team we beat in 2020 by record and by eye test. If you look on the field, we had better wins last year than we did the year before. It is complete nonsense to try to equate a 6-4 record to what we actually were on the field. We were not a good team in 2020.
No, it was awful.
At all. It was embarrassing, actually.
I'm laughing at Lawrence's comment.
I knew Lawrence was coming as soon as we started talking about 2020. But like that's exactly what it was. I still have not seen Joseph Ballard, man. So
we're running again.
Do we need to do a new hashtag or something? Like what is
all those old hashes still in there?
No, I'm just you can't refresh the hashtag bank. So I'll hit it again. Somebody gonna win this. It's up to 73 now, so more people have entered in. So maybe we'll get a new someone in here. Jazzy already has one of these though. He already has a flag.
You want to?
He's got darn near all the merch that we have in the store. He does. I'm sure Jazzy wouldn't mind us throwing this back because he has a one, but I'll let him make that decision on his own. I know for a fact Jazzy has one. I saw the order with it on there, so Jazzy has a flag already. So we'll see. But yeah, man,
y'all were saying something. So Anthony Schwartz, he did
Okay.
Anthony Schwartz did a thing with AL.com preparing for the draft last year. And he was talking about how he was disappointed. He didn't go as far as slandering Gus, but he was disappointed. And his high school coach said, yeah, I thought he could do more. And he talked about they practiced some routes,
right,
but never did anything more complex than the go routes or the sweeps in the game. It's like, what were we doing, man? What I don't understand. I want to understand. Like I hopefully maybe one day, 20 years from now, Gus will sit down and write a memoir about, well, here's what was going on in my time and what I learned in my time in Auburn. Like, I want to know, why didn't you do what worked? You know what? People have pegged you as this, oh, you're just running this spread with the run. Good. Now recruit to make you unstoppable and make people stop it, because there's never a time where we focused on that it didn't work until we had injuries that derailed it. Like, it worked great in 2013. It worked fairly well in 2014, not as well. 2016, when it was just Cam Petway, that worked. Now Sean White got hurt and Petway got hurt, so it didn't last. But I mean, come on, dude. If injuries are the
fullback we had helped that offense in 2013. I think he left in
Jay Prosh, man. He was another one of a kind that we thought that was just how it was going to be under Gus. Jay Prosh, Trey Mason, and Nick Marshall are athletes, the likes of which we have not seen since. It's not that we haven't had players of skill.
Jay Prosh was very underrated in that offense.
At that three-man battery. That three-man battery was really one of a kind. And that's part of the reason we were never able to duplicate that.
And I think that's what made Marshall so dangerous, because you had to respect Prosh followed by Mason going up the middle.
Ooh,
you had to account for that, because that was going to gash you.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. That's why I didn't understand. I don't understand why we just didn't have a stable of guys we could just trot out there that looked similar in their build, in their ability at the quarterback and the running back position. Like, this is what makes your offense go. You've got to have a certain type of O lineman. You should just have guys like this at the ready. Whatever. Jassy says we can run it again, so we'll run it again. This is few and
the
far
most
between.
we've done?
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know if we've gone to a fourth drawing.
Sheesh.
Matt C.
Now Matt C's been here. He's been commenting. Matt, are you here? Let us know. See if there's any other questions people ask. Oh, Stark Bites asked, what do y'all think of Craig McDonald? I like this pickup. This is the safety from Iowa State that transferred, I believe. I'm excited about it. And there is open competition at the safety position. I expect him to definitely be in the rotation at the very least. He has an opportunity to start. So again, I'm excited about the secondary position. He seems like he can ball, so looking forward to it.
Matt C. Woo. Nope. He gone. All right, man. So send us the email, of course, to business@thewarreport.com so that we can get your stuff out to you in the mail and we can move on.
For sure. Bankroll Blockade says, like, bro, why did you recruit Sean White to run your read option offense?
He didn't want it to be read option anymore.
He was trying to get away from it.
He was trying to prove something.
I just don't.
Well, it did not work.
But Sean White, that's what you came up with, bro.
And didn't he win Elite 11 that year?
He went to it. I don't know if he won it.
No, he won. No,
I
think White won the Elite 11 that year.
What happened to him?
I'm
gonna go find some clips of Sean White throwing, and I want you to tell me
the little hitch.
He was the best quarterback at the Elite 11. Who was at that? I need to go do some research on who was at that Elite 11, man. Anyway, let's move on. We've been here for too long.
Tell the people why they need to become a patron, like.
Yeah, man. You guys need to get on board, man. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. Tomorrow we're dropping that interview with Shedrick Jackson, but it's only going to be for members. Patrons, you all got a little special something coming your way as well. Some QB film room stuff that we got dropping this week. So stay tuned for that. If you didn't get an opportunity to win your merch today, you can go hit us up at thewarreport.com. The site is under construction right now. We have a new site coming, so you're going to hit a landing page, but there is a shop now button there. You can still get there and get to our shop in that way. We're partnered with the Lee County Humane Society to save the puppies out here. Make sure that you all get on board with that. In the About section of our YouTube channel, you have a link to the GoFundMe to be able to do that very thing there. And just make sure that you lock in with us on podcasts. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport on all of your podcast platforms. We're out here doing the Lord's work in audio form as well.
Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us, man, for sure. A special shout out to Athletic Architects, sponsors of today's show. We appreciate them. Definitely head on over there if you're a student athlete, parent of a student athlete, or just looking to start an LLC. They will definitely get you going. Also, guys, before you get out of here, please be sure to share this video and use the hashtag #GetYouPaidUp. Smash that like button. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. Definitely help us with our engagement as we are live. Please be kind and hit that like button. If you want to interact with us, guys, on social media, that's Facebook, Twitter, and IG, please hit us up at The War Rapport. We are TW Rapport on TikTok. That's it for now, guys, but definitely got an exciting week with SEC Media Days on the horizon. We will be here on our live show. We'll see you then, but until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.